Okay, so I'd like to call to begin the program and staffing meeting, please. It's 5:02. Agenda review and disposition.
All set, Madam Chair.
Okay. Approval of the minutes if there are no changes. These will be approved as written. Okay. Flexible scheduling discussion.
All right. As you remember, the committee, the full board at its retreat talked about the report from SCC and thought that with what was perceived as a lack of support by the faculty in going to a later start date based on survey results, that we would discuss with first Patricia and perhaps with a group from the SCC the opportunity to go to a flexible scheduling, so some students could come in later on in the morning and stay later in the afternoon, and we just wanted the committee and the board wanted an opportunity to talk with you about that, Patricia, in terms of really being a practical solution to the bigger question, rather than just tabling the whole thing as no one wants to do it, to pull those pieces out and see what is doable. And so I'd turn it over to the committee and folks to have that conversation with Patricia.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Patricia before, unless you have sort of an overview, or do you guys have specific questions?
Well, the idea of flexible scheduling isn't coming from us in terms of the proposal. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very interesting idea. I certainly like it a lot. If that can be worked out in teachers staying, some teachers staying later to teach another class, or however that might look logistically. I think it's a compromise. Yeah,
we would comply with the contract in terms of work hours and things like that. Potentially, it would be come in 2 hours later in the morning as a faculty member and leave 2 hours later in the afternoon. And what we'd have to do is see, what faculty members would be interested in that. It would be voluntary. First of all, if the association agreed in its entirety that they're willing to agree on something like that, and then see who's available, and then poll the students to see if students would actually be there. But it would get to those students that really feel they'll do much better later in the morning. Without having to, change athletic schedules and all of those other things.
What would you do for transportation? Students who came in late would just be on their own.
Yes, it'd be voluntary, and that would have to be. We're just throwing out ideas to try to get to something for kids that want that later option.
Right.
I have a question. Have you gotten a feel from the faculty, their thoughts and opinions? And I mean, you said you.
That's not a yes or no question. So there was a faculty meeting where the faculty, the reps from the faculty, so the SCC reps that are on the faculty, did a brief presentation without going into a lot of depth about what the SCC was discussing, really, without trying to slant it one way or the other. And after that discussion, we asked in a poll, like a Google form, we asked a series of questions. And the questions were pretty limited because we don't have anything to really offer. Would you be open to the idea if? So there's a lot of moving parts to the equation, and so we presented on the Google form what we could to try and elicit some sort of opinion. There was some faculty that were definitely for it, like, right, yes, I'm for that. And some faculty were, I would like to hear more, not close to the idea, but I'm not ready to say I'm for it. And then there was quite a large percentage of faculty that said, I'm not interested. Okay. So without having more details, they're not interested in starting at 9 o'clock was really what they were saying. But we didn't propose any sort of other creative idea.
And you don't know whether they were not interested because they were afraid of that messing with the union kind of stuff, or if it was just them personally, they might not want to come in?
The survey that we gave did not allow us to tease out that information.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to speculate on
Yeah.
why. I assume that some people are in that boat, for sure. Some people were afraid of what it would do to athletics.
Yeah.
Some people have families at home that it would affect.
Yeah.
And I have a follow-up question, and I don't know, maybe Mark, you would know, or I don't know, through the research, but is it a small percentage that could maybe make this work? Is it, 15%, 20%, and this could be, or do you need half on board?
No.
Because you're not
no.
making big changes, this is just a,
No, because if you brought the kids in, say at 9 o'clock, or so you're one block behind, it doesn't mean all of those faculty members have to do a schedule. I mean, kids would go through the normal part of the day. They just have one extra block, and then it would be talking with some faculty folks, maybe 2 or 3, depending on who decided to do this in terms of students, that they would be teaching in a last block at the end of the day. So. No, I don't think it's insurmountable. I think it's very doable if we get, I don't know what the critical mass number is going to be, but I think we can certainly explore it.
Do you think it would be, would be a problem then for any of the students who chose to go later in the day? They wouldn't necessarily be able to do the scheduled sports and after-school activities that we have now, right?
It depends on what they're interested in. That there are some sports that you might be able to pull it off, depending on the season. And certainly some of the co-curricular activities, I think, have enough flexibility. Theater has plenty of flexibility. We'd work with, if someone had music in their schedule, we would work to see how that, I think, with Bruce's creativity, I think you can build individual schedules that can kind of fit. It just depends on the willingness of everyone to give it a shot. But if we were looking at something like that, we're only talking about adding one period at the end of the day, and no different than someone taking a study hall first period and then getting permission to come in for second period. I off the top of my head, I don't know what the rules are, but getting here on a certain amount of time. But I mean, it's if somebody just needed that, be here by 9 rather than be here by 7:20 or whatever, it's certainly doable. Just got to get folks to consider it. I bet there would be some faculty members who said, it's pretty good hours. But again, there's childcare, there's other commitments, I understand. That wouldn't be for everybody, but there may be a few people out there willing to do it.
And so what are the hurdles we're looking at here? We're looking at transportation.
Well, the big one would be getting an agreement with the association.
Okay.
If we can't do that, then we're not going to do anything.
Yeah.
And then the other hurdles would be, depending on who was interested, then the hurdles appear, whether it be transportation or it be something else.
Right. Does anybody have any questions for Patricia that's coming to mind?
Madam Chair, one thing that has to be addressed, Patricia's going to need some some guidance, because we didn't have an SEC meeting, and there was a proposal in front. So they've done their work. We have an October meeting, and we're gonna, what was the top choice, Patricia, if I recall,
To talk about for this coming year was a senior capstone project.
Correct. And I'd be proposing that, because I have the SEC nominations for you tonight too, for program and staffing, and that was the topic that we wanted to study and look into, was the senior capstone experience. But she's going to need some guidance to go back to her committee on that meeting in October on what we're doing.
As far as the capstone, or as far as
No, as far as that, she got two things, but
Flexible
I'll be looking for approval for the capstone for them to study for the year. And then, obviously, you know, an answer to, you know, just out of courtesy, I would say to the SCC, you know, because they did all their work and they're putting their information.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, they knew the barriers they were up against too, and what you guys were gonna be up against too. Am I correct, Patricia?
Yes, I would say that many of the hurdles that we were trying to find ways around sort of become null and void with this other idea.
Correct.
You know, transportation was one of the big ones, so if transportation's not an issue, then that just deletes that whole section. We didn't really consider doing a flexible schedule, so the work that we did was really based around moving the entire school later.
I think it still all surrounds around your contract too. That's, you know, whether it's flexible or not, we're stymied in the water there.
So before we do more exploration at the committee level, it seems to me we have to have a couple questions answered, like the, how that would work with the association.
Yeah,
and-
that's, I wouldn't do a thing until there was a conversation with the association to say, are you interested in allowing some of your members to work the same amount of time, just they would come in later and teach the last block. That's all. The rest of their life doesn't change a bit. And it doesn't impact anyone who isn't involved in that extra block.
And so is...
Yeah, is it an option to do a pilot program where they can kind of get their feet wet with it and we can get our feet wet?
I think each year would be a pilot, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
I just
So
think
it
it'll
would
be depending on how many individuals, not only teachers, but also individual students want to do this. I mean, there were a lot of students who said, no, this is a perfect schedule for me, given all the stuff I do. So we would, if we got a, yeah, we're open to seeing what this looks like. Then we would have to, we'd first ask the kids, how many kids are interested? Again, if that comes back not a critical mass, that's the end of the story. But if we get the kid numbers, and then we would do the same thing with the faculty. And just say, you know, we may need 3 or 4 faculty members to teach in that last block if there are 20 or 25 kids. Again, it would be Bruce and Bob looking at the schedule and plugging in the regular day, and then us offering something at the end of the day that fits those individual students.
It sounds like a difficult task if you have 25 students, say, and they all want to take a different, if they're all looking at different courses they're trying to
It could be, and then we come back and go, this isn't going to work. We don't have enough. We don't have enough players in the same area to do this.
Okay.
But say if you had a significant number of seniors who said, 9 o'clock sounds pretty good to me, it may work. They could have a language arts course at the end of the day, and there's 15 or 16 of them, and so it's there.
I have a question, please. And so just because I know a question that's going to be asked by the faculty is, no, so the flexibility doesn't mean that a faculty member could be forced into adjusting their schedule if they didn't want to.
No, we wouldn't do that.
So, because I know somebody's going to have that question.
Yeah.
Sure.
So it's
No.
got to be a match with a faculty member wanting to do it in a type of class that there's enough critical mass of students to want to take.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I suppose you could propose to them that this would be if all of this goes well, if you say yes, it would just be yes for a year until we reevaluate. Does that
Exactly.
make sense?
Exactly.
So at this point, would Patricia then just need to get word from the association or find out who speaks to them? These guys?
Well, I defer to Patricia for guidance. I don't know. We're happy to speak to the faculty, but I don't know if a message is better coming from Patricia behind closed doors with the faculty saying, here's what's being talked about, and there'll be some questions, and then then they can have, if they're interested, they can go one step a little bit further and talk with Bruce, perhaps myself.
At what stage would the association have to be asked? Were you saying before that that's the first step?
I think, yeah. I mean,
That's the very first
if
step.
there's
So-
no faculty buy-in, there's no program.
So who would do that piece?
Well, I think I would ask that you think about it, the best way to approach the association. It's coming from the SCC with faculty reps on it. And I don't want to go in saying, hey, we got this really nice idea at the administrative level to do this. It's actually, the idea sprung from the results of the SCC report and the board not wanting just to chuck the whole thing based on not having enough faculty members to go along with the whole thing. They actually worked hard to say, all right, what piece of this can we glimmer out of here and see if we can accommodate some students. It took a lot of time in July for us to walk through that.
Yeah, so
Okay.
if you approached perhaps the faculty members who were on, I don't know, are there folks who are on the association? I mean, I know everybody,
Yes, but they're
on
not on the
governing.
SEC, so we would just have to find out who was going to go speak to them. Yeah, we could do that.
If your SCC faculty reps say, that's really not the way we want it to go, or it's got to be all or nothing, you give us that feedback, and again, we'll come back to the board and say, it doesn't appear to work out.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And Madam Chair, on the similar note, can we get a motion to move forward so the SCC to study the senior capstone for the 19-20 year?
Yes, do I hear a motion to approve that for the SCC to move forward on
I can
that?
make that motion on the
Lisa, second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Is that just to go to the, are we doing the full board later? Or is that-
Yes, full board later.
Okay.
Then I just have one more question about the SEC is I saw Barbara walk in and it reminded me that we really would like to have two representatives from this board to be with us. It is very difficult to have communication go back and forth when there isn't someone there.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could consider sending us someone.
Nicely put.
Please.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
so much.
Thanks, Patricia.
Nice job. Bob, I will be in there at 5:30.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
next on the agenda, NEASC process update?
Yes, that would be me. We are moving along at a nice pace. As the piece we're putting together is that vision of the graduate. We had, I told you at the opening, we had a great summer workshop with the teacher leaders on professional learning communities. Tonight, we have mock scheduled tonight, and I'm going to invite parents from 7:15 to 8 to stop into the reason you're not in the Bobcat Cafe is I'll be using that room later on, to stop in and add their input to what that vision of a graduate looks like. If you recall, we had a huge meeting last year, invited all kinds of business leaders and parents and kids, all the stakeholders that made up, that gave us the direction of where we were moving in. So we continue along with that process. It'll be interesting to see how many parents do stop in and ask some of the questions that they're looking at as we move forward to put together what that vision of a graduate looks like.
Hello, can you hear me? Nod if you can. None of you are nodding. Nice to see you. Thank you, Morgan.
What?
Tanya, I must be doing a special, I have no idea. But keep in mind, the great Oz has spoken. Pay no attention to that man behind that curtain. We will be, with our improvement plan, the vision of graduate, we'll be ready for our visiting committee when they come in next October. But the process is going quite well. But I'll keep you informed, let you know how many parents show up tonight. And that tonight, they start at, I'll welcome them all at 5:30. 6 o'clock, I'll get them going. They'll go run through their fun night tonight. They'll go through their kids' schedule. And again, hopefully a lot of them will show up at the Bobcat to do the vision of graduate. And plus, I want them to stop at the Learning Common to see the renovations that we made to the library, which will be fun.
All right.
Any questions with that?
All right.
Mark, can I start off on the
Go ahead.
class size? I know Mark will go over your opening enrollment for the entire SAU, but as you can see, the high school numbers are down, and they have been going down the last couple of years. About a 37 to 41 number, the decline in the high school enrollment. With that, guys, when we do the schedule, it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. It's difficult to make up a schedule because I've got to have the budget done in October. We don't do the schedule until March. But based on what the kids have signed up for and then what they stay into, we have about 18 classes right now across the board. We run around 133, but 18 classes are below 10 or more. So that gives you some kind of indication of what we're looking at as we prepare the budget for next year. And I want to keep everybody well aware of that. 18 classes is around a two-teacher deficit that I look at, and it's across the board. If you say, Bruce, where are they? There are some in English, there are some in foreign language, world language, there are some in social studies, science. So it is across the board. But I do want to let you know there are there are some that are electives and there are some that are required courses. It's where the kids come in and then they play the chess game. They want an early release or late, as Mark was talking about before. But they were at a regular number when we first looked. But then other kids will take a VLAX course on, or some kids may not want that elective and just do the bare minimum. And that does affect the numbers as you move it up. But 18, that's a lot of courses that are below 10, that are 10 or below. And I've always reported out to you the classes that I've had.
Okay. Any questions for Bruce?
And with that, Mark will probably piggyback.
All of you,
Barbara?
I think all of you have an enrollment chart. As you can see, the high school open. Our official stats will be on October 1st. These are opening day stats, and quite frankly, they can be fluid. We had 645 students on opening day. We projected 653, so we were off by 8. Last year we had 667. So we're down 3.3%, or 22 kids, and we were 8 off our projection at 1.2. Next year we're projecting about 650, but we will have those numbers as best we can on October 1st. As you can see, SAU-wide, if you look at grades 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, we begin to really dip, and those will have major implications later on in terms of NHIA classification and other numbers. So you look at the kindergarten numbers, that's 117 around the entire SAU. So as we begin to look at those numbers, we're concerned. Obviously we're not concerned about the facility. There's plenty of room and it's completely renovated, so we're in fine shape there. The issue is working with the faculty, and we are talking with some folks, and we would like to deal with any positions that are cut through attrition at first. So we're talking with some folks, and that would be my priority, is we can start lowering the number of faculty members through attrition. If we can't, then we're going to have to do some other things. But Bruce has met with the association, and just be aware of these are issues that we'll be talking about during the course of the budget process.
How many of the 645 are Ashland students?
I'd have to break that out for you. I haven't broken down. I can get that for you.
I'm
though.
just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like 50 or?
No, much lower than that.
Oh, okay.
Well, it could be around. We combine all the classes, Peter. Would be 50. Yeah.
They're right now. They can range. They can range from 12 to 23. Wow. It's just.
They would be over 50 though.
Yeah.
You combine 9, 10, 11.
Yeah. When you put the whole group together, I was thinking about one class size.
Right. I was too.
So that's what we have, and for those grade 8 and on down, we would add the Ashland numbers to those numbers. Yeah. But they're not going to be significant to get us to where we used to be. Remember, our top enrollment was 945 at one point, so that's we're very reflective of the state of New Hampshire, quite frankly. So there's no surprise. In fact,
Yeah, it's statewide.
we're actually coming down a little slower than some other places. So, but there is it's a older population in New Hampshire. You all know the headlines. You all know the stats. So, but that's what we look like on opening day. Usually we're pretty good on the projection. You know, to be off by 8, I take personally. So I don't know what happened, but.
He was expecting more off the street.
Yeah, I did. We didn't net out as high as we usually do.
Barbara?
Yes, do you remember, excuse me, how many years ago it was that we did the far out projection? Don't I recall that it was projected to go down? So,
Yeah. Oh, yes.
This is
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, we're
I'm
not-
surprised, I don't have numbers in my.
No, we're not off. You know, we were off. What, by 22 kids from last year.
Mm-hmm.
We thought, you know, they'd come in phases of 20, 15 to 20. 22 was a little high, but the issue for us too is going to be jobs for young people. I mean, the economy plays a huge piece in young families and opportunities that young families have. I mean, we get some great folks that retire in other states and move here and make positive contributions to the community, but you know, the kids come with younger folks.
All right.
Madam Chair, I have one other to add to the agenda before I get up and welcome the parents in. I have a field trip that I need approval. It's an overnight. It is the Youth Leadership Through Adventure. All the middle schools are doing it. It's an overnight. Our kids, there's about 10 that are mentors. You have an MOU that you'll be discussing in your policy and budget. One through the ADAPT. Those are the kids that we have, the at-risk kids that I send. Then the other MOU is the mentors, the kids who act as mentors. So there are 2. This overnight is on the 28th and, well, why did I?
29th.
29th, correct,
29th
Lacey,
and
so you're well aware. But I got about 10
Yes.
kids that'll be going as mentors. All your sending schools are sending kids. It'll be at Ellsworth, at Stinson Lake. It's well chaperoned, and it's a 2-day overnight trip.
I'll make that motion to go.
Thank you, ma'am.
Full board.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mark, you have the nomination.
I get this.
I will be back.
Other business then?
I'm all set, Madam Chair.
Okay. Non-public session?
Yes, at the end of the board meeting, there's just a couple of odds and ends.
And then our next meeting is October 15th. And we will adjourn if I could get a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Second? Okay. Program and staffing is adjourned.
Policy and budget?
Oh, I thought we did facilities. Okay.
Policy budget is 5:30. Agenda, review and disposition. Any changes?
No, all set.
Okay. Approval of minutes from August 20th. Any changes to the minutes? If not, I declare them approved. Project completion, infrastructure fund signatures.
Yes, thank you. I have before me Department of Ed request. This is the Public School Infrastructure Fund project completion and request for payment form. As you know, Homeland Security at the state made a number of recommendations for us, and we have fulfilled those recommendations. Those of you who came in the front entry now see the new glass, and the new phone system is in. So we've done all that. We've fronted the money, and now this form that I would ask you to sign is a request. The documentation for the project will be added to it, but it's a request for payment from the state of New Hampshire. So it's all right with the board. I'm going to send this around each of you. I need all 13 signatures, so folks who aren't here tonight, we'll be tracking them down during the course of the week to get those signatures.
I got 10 minutes, I'm sorry. They throw me up.
It's a fast speech.
Fast speech.
Okay, you're passing that around now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have two memorandum of understandings with ADAPT that Bruce just alluded to. Memorandum number 1.
Yes, memorandum number 1, that is the one, the outdoor wilderness that we send. Basically, our students at risk. It's nice too that you can use this as an alternative to suspension at times, depending on the discipline. Very great program, and we've been tickled pink with their personnel. And the second MOU is for our mentors. Those aren't your at-risk kids, those are the students that come from within the high school that are helping that program, okay?
I move, this is the second reading.
Second reading, yes.
So I'm going to send them up to the full board for,
Thank you.
for approval.
So you see a second on that? Okay, all in favor? Full board it goes.
Thank you.
Any other business to come before this committee?
None, Mr. Chairman. I have copies of the financial report that we handed out last month for folks who weren't here or want another copy of it. It's right here. Again, as we talked about, we hit all of our targets in terms of unreserved fund balance and fund balance retained. So, and got all the work done this summer with what we wanted to propose. So financially, the district's in very, very good shape.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn at 5:34.
Second? All in favor?
All right, we'll open up the facilities meeting agenda, review and disposition, any changes?
All set, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. And the minutes, any changes to the minutes? Any changes? Okay, facility update.
Yes. The facility is done. The crews are gone. We have our facility. If you see someone around working, it's just a routine things that are going on. We're very, very pleased with the quality of the construction from CCI and all the subcontractors that CCI brought in. We were on time and on budget, so we were thrilled. And the money's been flowing from the state of New Hampshire in terms of their 75% share of the agreed upon formula that Dan Rossner and John and the state had agreed to. So we're pretty happy. Bruce will talk about the day-to-day flow and how the kids have responded, but from a facility standpoint, we're very, very happy.
The learning commons, which I'll talk about to the parents tonight, just outstanding. It just changes the climate. You know, because keep in mind, we got rid of study halls. So study halls used to be in the cafeteria, with the exception of the third period because you have lunch. And a lot of kids, there's a lot of movement because kids they don't want to sit in the study hall, they want to move around, go into the library. So by getting rid of putting the study halls actually in the learning common, okay, that's created you, so when you come in, there's nobody walking around. It's a unique atmosphere in there. I have all the staff, and it's a little different atmosphere. I mean, kids they're encouraged to play some games. You can see kids coming in playing an Uno game, or you'll see a ton of kids around on laptops. Off to the right is the lounge where kids can look at TV. The Earn Time Lounge is still available for them. It's a classroom, but they can go in there. The classroom is not there. But it's a unique setting. Really proud of it. Mark did an unbelievable job of the planning and getting that done so quickly in 5 weeks. I mean, right down to the studs pretty much. So the only thing I'm waiting for is, it should be in the end of the week, is the rest of the library furniture. But if you do get a chance to come in during the day, please come in. I mean, just that glass enclosure when you come in, because you can see everything going on too, which is great. And I always come in, give a nice little wave or whatever, but it's a lot of kids. They enjoy it. And then, obviously the cafeteria, changing the furniture down there, it just changes the culture, it changes the atmosphere. And I think the kids really respect. A lot of kids are really out here too. in the vocational area. That's a real study, nice quiet piece. We do have some more tables coming in the main foyer, because kids like to, and they can do that on their own time. And you'll see them lounging around there, or eating or studying or whatever around the, so it is a nice piece. Like one big food court.
On Sunday, October 6th, we're going to have an open house from 2 to 4. And the plaque, the commemoration plaque will be up, and we won't do anything with that. That's just historical record. But at about 2:30, we'd like to unveil the Deachman Atrium plaque, and I'm just make sure we can get Ross here for that. And we'll do that about 2:30. There'll be no speeches. There'll be no big razzmatazz. It's quite frankly the way Ross wants it. But I do want him to have the opportunity to see that we're done, and then unveil the plaque, which you named the atrium after him earlier this year. So
What's the date on that?
It'll be Sunday, October 6th, from 2 to 4. And it's homecoming weekend?
Yes, homecoming, the dance is the night before, if you want to come chaperone. Saturday night, so we're around 400 kids.
Yeah.
Fun.
But, you know, it's an opportunity, too, for folks who may have come into town to see the building before they leave, to go back to wherever they're gone. And they certainly are welcome. That Saturday, we have a lot of home athletic events. There's a soccer game, there's a football game.
Everyone's home.
It's not just football. We've got a number of events on the campus on that Saturday. So, you know, you're more than welcome, and we hope to see you during that weekend. And that's the report. Facility's going to go quiet. We've been a hotbed for a few years, and now we're in good shape. I do want to point out too, the back of the school. If you're in the back of the school and looking up, I'm really pleased the way the back turned out, particularly in the area around autos. There's much less of an industrial park feel to it. We have a trash compactor and a recycling bin, and that's it. And on all the fencing and the oil barrels and all that other business is gone. And so I think if you're at a soccer game and you look over, or wherever you may be, I think you're pleased and go, well, that's really nice. I think, you know, and I toured Amy and John too. They did a great job working with our architects to make it come in.
Great. Yeah, I wanted to share that I ran into Mark one day, and he asked me to kind of take a trip over here, and I got about 15 minutes and came over. And a couple of weeks before that, I had visited colleges, up to 3 for some, like, you know, my own kids and relatives. And I remember at those visits thinking, I wish the high school had this feel that I experienced at those 3 colleges. And so I went over, and it blew my mind how much this building felt like those colleges. And that's really what we're here for, is to get our students ready to take the next step to colleges. And I was so excited when I left the building at how the feel here was a college feel. You know, that kids were moving around, and we weren't indoors with doors shut and no one's talking. It was just so interactive. And then the other thing that I was blown away with is how much, you know, there's an old building and a new building now, but it doesn't feel like an old building and a new building. So I have to give a lot of credit to Mark, John, and the gang for the whole building feels brand new. The whole building feels brand new. So for the public to come in and visit as well.
Absolutely. Any member of the public wants to come, they just need to call Bruce, and we'd rather have the public come in while the kids are here. That's when you really see the school in action. So if anybody would like to tour the building, just call the principal's office, and Bruce would be more than happy to tour anybody around. And I would encourage, if people ask you, encourage them to call, and we can do that.
Great. Other business? Other business and future meetings that we set in October 15th. Motion to adjourn. So moved. Second. Christie.
Agenda review and disposition?
I'm all set, Madam Chair. I will need the non-public session just for a couple of issues. Personnel issues. They're not legal or buying property or anything like that.
We have the minutes of October 20th. Unless there are any corrections or amendments, they stand approved as written.
August 20th?
October, where'd I get that?
Thank you, thinking ahead.
Looking ahead.
August 20th. Planning for the future.
Sorry.
Mr. Howard?
Yes, we have been tracking for you the budget negotiations because so much of the tax rate impact is going to be based upon state aid. And I was very pleased yesterday getting to watch on the news the governor say that we're within striking distance of getting to the legislature's numbers. And the Senate president felt very confident, and I saw the minority leader in the Senate, Senator Bradley, say we're going to get something done. And so that not only increased the state aid to all of your sending towns, but also get the tax rate done so the selectmen can get tax bills out and cash flow going in the communities. So it looks good, and I think it's this tomorrow, Wednesday and Thursday of this week, the legislature will be in session to deal with veto bills and a new state budget. So we're cautiously optimistic that those numbers will come out on a little higher side than the governor's numbers, but some progress would be good on that. So. The other issue is, and we're getting some calls, and there's going to be a what's called a climate strike at noontime in the Plymouth Common on Friday, and a number of parents have called and said, I'd really like my child to go to that. And it's the same rules as we've always followed, no matter what the event. If you're 18 years old, you can sign yourself out of school, and if you're younger than 18, if you bring a note from your parent and say, please dismiss my child at such and such a date, they'll be dismissed. And so it's very simple. We're not locking the doors, keeping anybody here. As an institution, we're not for or against the issue. It's just we need to account for the kids and where kids are during the school day. But certainly if parents want their child to attend that event, then just have to write a note and they'll be dismissed. And again, the 18-year-olds can sign themselves out. So if anyone asks you, what's the school up to, that's the story. It's pretty cut and dry. And we won't be busing people to the event. That's another lady called me and said, what time's the bus leaving for the event? I'm lucky to get the buses to get the athletic kids to their events, never mind any other. So, but we won't be transporting anyone. But certainly on a big college campus, if you went out our back door and walked down to the Common, you'd go from one end of a college campus to another. So it's not that long a walk.
Right.
So I'm all set, Madam Chair.
All right. I guess we have committee progress reports, and we really just need, do we have?
Mark, Bruce asked if you wouldn't mind reading his principal's report. He's made all the notes, because I don't think he'll be back.
Where's it at?
It's right on his school board agenda.
Probably didn't do the committee reports right after we.
Happy to read it.
Didn't do the committee.
We just need to vote on the three
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Committees.
understanding, right? Yep. Good to do that. What is that capstone?
It's not that paper right there.
No, that's just the
Nitty-gritty, we could ask.
the mentor.
Compilation.
I wonder if you just wanted to mention these two things.
Yeah, like a senior.
Homecoming.
Yeah, Bruce left a couple of notes here that he wanted me to make you aware of, Madam Chair. For a principal's report.
Okay.
Tonight, as we speak, is the mock schedule night, where parents are invited to come and follow their student schedule around the building. And as I think Bruce already mentioned, Later on, there'll be an opportunity for the public to comment on the vision of a graduate, and that will be, I think that's later in the evening.
From 7:15
in the
to-
Bobcat Cafe.
Yep.
Homecoming week will be that first week in October, and that's always a high-energy week for all of our students, and it's an awful lot of fun to be here. And the home athletic events throughout the course of the week and Saturday. And the Students for Diversity had the opportunity to make a presentation today in front of all the principals and administrators of the SAU. We had our monthly meeting here in the high school, and Carol Lee Simmons brought the students down. They did a terrific job in their presentation. So the feedback from the administrators was very good, and they made us aware of a lot of things that we need to be aware of. So it was good, very, very good meeting. So that's, Madam Chair, that's the abbreviated principal's report.
Thank you. So we really just need to discuss or vote on the 3 motions coming from the different committees. And coming from program and staffing is the motion for the SEC to study the senior capstone project. And Barbara, can you go into a little detail on what exactly the senior capstone project?
I can't, I'm not really sure where that's coming from.
Is that something?
If I could, Madam Chair,
Yes,
I know I won't do it complete justice, but it would be an activity that a senior would undertake as sort of a final project in their senior year. And now the parameters of that activity, I'm not aware of. I know I wasn't there, but I think what the group will do is look at what would be a really good thing for an 18-year-old student at Plymouth Regional High School to get themselves involved in as a capstone activity, be it academic, social awareness, whatever they may want to do. So I think the SEC will have those conversations over the course of the year. What kind of activities should conclude and make, if you will, our student whole before they go off into work or school or military or wherever they're going. Just sort of a final, I'm leaving my mark on the place, be it a paper or be it an activity or being work in one of the social service agencies or volunteering for something. That I would expect that would be the kind of report that would come your way. And other board members who have been on the SEC or have been involved in capstone projects, please feel free to speak on it.
Do they currently have them right now? I missed this.
No.
Okay,
no.
so they're looking to investigate.
Right. We just had portfolios, and so this would be sort of replacing that portfolio process because the state sort of abandoned that requirement. So, which may be timely. So.
Okay, thank you.
So all those in favor of approving that study for the SCC to do, signify by raising your hand. Looks like that's unanimous. And then the second motion from program and staffing was to approve a field trip for the youth leadership through adventure. It's a 2-day trip, 10
Yes.
students.
Yes.
To Stinson Lake. And it would be the mentors. Any questions on that? So all those in favor? That's another unanimous. And then from policy and budget, we have a motion to approve the second reading of the 2 memorandums of understanding.
That is correct. And I have to admit that this is the first, I wasn't here for the last meeting, and this is the first time I've seen these particular memorandums of understanding, so I will defer to the superintendent to explain exactly what they are. I understand the basic preface.
The outdoor leadership is an alternative experience for some students who perhaps this setting isn't the best setting for them at the moment. So rather than school suspension, they work with the ADAPT program to learn interactive skills, leadership, and other skills that will make them successful. And then through the mentor program, a number of students will work with middle school students who are having adjustment troubles or similar issues at the middle school level. And those are those kids that we try sometimes to find alternative programs for.
Why are we doing the second one if it's a middle school?
It's
We provide mentors, yeah.
you're
Oh,
the
we
first
pro- oh,
one.
right, yeah, that's right. We
You all
provide
set?
mentors, yeah,
Yeah.
the students, right.
Right.
It's like student
And quite frankly, those middle school students are headed this way, so it's a
Yeah,
good
sure.
investment.
Yep, understand.
I'll set
I
that.
would make a motion to approve.
It's from the committee.
Oh, it's
Second.
got, it's from the committee.
Yeah, I just need a vote.
Right.
Aye.
So, looks like we're set there. And FCC has not met yet, correct?
No, but I will have nominations after non-public session for membership in this year's SEC.
And I would ask, are you willing to serve as representative again, as one representative to SCC? I know you had expressed, no?
I don't want to offer and not be able to participate
Okay.
as fully as I think I should.
So I do need 2 representatives to serve on SCC, 2 reps from the board. So if people would,
Here.
again, think, and we've got to come up with something.
What is it again, like libraries?
It is the first
First
Monday,
Monday at
but they meet
5:15.
at 5:15.
And it's every month now, not every other month.
Pretty much, it's been every month, I believe. Is that correct?
Every other month, I think they went.
Every other month?
Barbara, they go to every other month?
We switched back and forth depending on what the subject matter was
Right.
that we had, but we're very in-depth. Once every other month was not enough, so I think once they start discussing a topic, they might say, let's accelerate this. It originally, I believe, started out every month, then went to every other month, and then went back to every month, so it's been moving.
Okay.
Kathy, at one point you were talking about rotating.
Yeah, and there was some, not everyone was very excited by that. I mean, there's some of us who have to take time off from work to go, and that makes it a little difficult. There was a concern of continuity, where you're rotating, you don't have that continuity.
All parents should now pass to their child's A-Day Block 1 class.
I mean, it's, you can't really speak on behalf of the board at these meetings. It's a lot of listening, and I thought that the rotating would be good because if you went and listened, you could bring it to the board and kind of see the progression.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I know from the time I was trained to be on this board, I can't go and just start talking away. You have to, I can't speak on behalf of the board, we have to speak together as one. So if they want to see us there, I just think that probably the best solution is get a list of the meetings and pick one and we just report back to the body, because I think we're stuck because nobody can commit to all of those Mondays. And I think 2 is probably an unlikelihood, but 1, and we could all take turns and reply. I mean, we haven't tried it yet. Why not try it and see if it works?
About the SEC.
I mean, and maybe it's just 6 of us because it's 6 meetings. I could do one of the 6, I mean, I don't, maybe those that just can't do it because of their schedule just can't. Could we maybe do that and come up with a list of
And San, you also had a
Well, I had
suggestion.
suggested before, and I don't know if this meeting it was, but, we also do, we go sign financials at the SAU
Yeah, I was
office.
thinking the same thing.
And so some people would prefer to do that, and some people would prefer to do SEC. So you can also create a system where if there's 13 members, pick which one you're more interested in, and you do a rotating schedule on that. Because people have different interests, different time commitments. They don't hate to see somebody be forced into showing up once a year to a meeting that they just don't have any skill set for or any interest in, and whether that be a financial aspect or whether that be an SCC aspect. So I'd prefer whatever system we come up with, there's more flexibility for people to volunteer rather than be drafted.
Well, how do folks, oh, I'm sorry, Barbara.
Having served on that committee for over 10 years or more, I'd like to say that I find it very beneficial if you're there for all of the meetings, or one person represents, goes as many as they can. Quite often, there's a lot of investigatory work that goes along with whatever the topic is. And if you can't be there on a fairly regular basis to be part of the investigatory work, we become more of a reporting person. We sit there, we listen, we come back and we report. We're not really participating like the students are. So I found it very good to be there and actually participate rather than listen and report. If we had 7 different people from our board going one a month, there's a lot that's lost in the transition.
But my problem is I don't know if that's an option.
I know. I
What other
understand. I just
options
wanted
are
to
there?
let that out because
I was on, and I didn't find it. I mean, there's times I could go and the times that I wasn't. When 10 minutes into it, you were on board, and they gave you paperwork to read, and I was comfortable with coming and going. I think it was an alternate. But
And if they knew ahead of time that you were going to be on next month, maybe there is material that could be sent to appropriate board members.
And it does depend on the topic. Like last year's topic was very in-depth. And a lot of reading, a lot of input, a lot of discussion. Whereas in other years, we have had two topics, and we've covered them fairly quickly, and that can run along much differently. So it depends on the topic of the year. It really does change.
If I could, Madam Chair, I think this year's topic would be very interesting, and I think it's the kind of thing that you could attend a meeting, read the minutes, and catch right up. But to develop, appropriate capstone experiences for our kids is a nice conversation to have. It's not as technical as trying to
All
change
parents should now be in
schedules
the
and
child's
things
Block
like that.
1
So
class.
I think we ought to be represented there, and I think the handoff could be easy. In Sam's idea of, there's 6 meetings, 6 people can go. But I think it's an important signal also to the faculty and to the public that there's some ownership in SCC. It was the board's idea to have the SCC, and it's one of the things that we get compliments for in terms of public input. I think I hear what Barbara's saying, and the topic last year, you probably needed to be there every meeting. But I think this is the kind of experience, when you're talking about capstone experiences, I think the input of 6 of you would be very good, because you all have different experiences.
Well, let me put together a list. I think I have the board dates from Priscilla. Patricia, sorry.
Yeah, it's the first Monday of the month. It's the first Monday of the month.
And before you came in, they were discussing that last year it went every month, but this year it could be every other month.
Yeah. Barbara's right. The topic was hot and heavy, and they had a lot of work to do. I would suspect that they would probably go every other month, but
may I ask how many on the committee? I'm just curious.
it varies, Maureen. Depends on the topic again. So that's the bottom line. If it's a hot topic, they show up. If it isn't, then the ownership is limited.
Maureen, tonight, for instance, we'll be nominating 3 students, 3 faculty members, a support staff member, and 4 members from the community.
So we're missing 3 members from the community and a couple of other people that are on there by the bylaws of the SEC. And 2 school board reps. That's in the bylaws.
Yeah, we are looking for 2 reps, so we're looking for 12
Should be
people.
around
if they
12
meet
to
every-
15
Yeah.
people.
It's 4 kids, it's 2 support staff, it's 5 teachers, the superintendent, the principal, and 2 school board members.
Okay. Let me get the dates, and I'll have 2 lists. We'll talk about it at the next meeting and see how it goes. See who can sign up for both the, my mind tonight.
Financials.
Yes.
So a list of the manifest dates?
The manifest dates or months,
SCC,
as well
back
as
to back.
SCC representation. and see where we get from there.
Yeah, so the first meeting should be October. If they go every other month, it'd be October, December.
Well,
Have you
I'll
do the
check
math,
in
right.
with Patricia to make
Yep.
sure that their plan is
Right.
every other month. Okay. Any other board concerns? Do we hear a motion to go into non-public for personnel? Sam, seconded by Peter.